Hello and welcome to the CircuitPython weekly meeting for August 3rd, 2020. My name is Scott and I work on CircuitPython for Adafruit. They sponsor me and a number of other folks to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a beginner-friendly embedded version of Python for inexpensive computers called microcontrollers. And Adafruit is an open source hardware and software company based out of New York. So if you want to support us, a lot of the folks on this call, please go to adafruit.com and order from them. It helps a wonderful company do some more awesome open sourcey things. This meeting is all for our community for CircuitPython. We want to hear whatever you're doing around CircuitPython or Python or whatever. This meeting regularly happens at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on the Adafruit Discord server. Which you can join at adafru.it/discord. If you'd like to participate in the meeting, please join the voice channel on the left-hand side at that time and let us know if you'd like to speak, because you must have a CircuitPythonista's role in order to do it. If not, if you want to just listen in, that's totally cool. We're happy to have you. Please just let us know that you're lurking. Because as I will go over in just a second, we do have some times where we do kind of a round robin through everybody in the voice channel who's not marked as lurking. We do have a notes document that goes along with this meeting, because the meeting tends to be an hour to an hour and a half, probably more like an hour and a half. If you can't make the whole meeting, please just let us know, and we'll be happy to let you go over all your stuff before you have to leave, and then you can check the notes and the recording later to hear more about that. As I said, the meeting is recorded, so just a heads up that the recording is posted to the Adafruit YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Adafruit, along with a link to the notes doc so you can see all the topics that we covered. Speaking of what we cover, we have 5 different sections to this meeting. The first is community news, where we give a preview of what is going in the newsletter tomorrow. It's a broad kind of overview of what's coming into CircuitPython land and Python in general. So I'll go over that first, and then after that we'll have state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. This is meant to be kind of a short, concise section where we take an objective view of the health of the project, kind of from the numbers side of things, to ground ourselves in how we're doing in terms of involving people and getting through pull requests and things. So that's state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. After that, we have Hog Reports. This is the first of 2 sections that we do as a round robin. This first one that we do is geared towards giving everyone a chance to say thank you to the folks that have been doing amazing work within our community. So think of some folks that have been helping you or helping others, and you want to give them some credit for that. The way that it happens is I will start, and then we'll go through the list of the folks in the voice channel who are not marked as lurking in the notes doc. So if you just want to listen in, just let us know you're lurking, and I'll skip over you. If you don't want to speak up, maybe because you don't want to turn on your mic or don't want to be recorded, that's totally cool. Just let us know that you're text only or lurking, and I'll just read off the text that you have in your notes doc, which is in the notes doc. I'm happy to read that for you, and that applies as well if you can't make the meeting. I'm still happy to read off notes, even though you can't make it. After Hug Reports, we have another section done just in the same way, but this time called Status Updates, which is take a couple minutes to talk about what you've been working on and what you plan on working on in the coming week. It's a great way to get an idea of who's doing what, and also to know or gives tips and tricks and collaborate. So that is status updates. And then lastly, we have a section called In the Weeds. This is a kind of a free-for-all section where we cover any topic, even though it might be long or very technical or very detailed. So if you have a topic that you'd like to cover in the weeds, please drop it in the notes doc along with your username. And basically what we'll do is we'll call on people in order of the notes doc and cover those topics as we get to them. So just keep an eye on that. If you don't know where the notes doc is, you can go to the CircuitPython text channel, click the little pin icon, and you'll see a link there. We try to post it a week before the show. So that will you'll have all week to drop notes in there if you like. Although I was in there last night and there was only one person I think that had done that. So just be aware that that's possible. I should be better about that myself too. Okay, so let me find my recording window and take a time code, and then we will go on to the first section here. So first and foremost, we have community news. And again, this is a preview of the newsletter that comes out on Tuesday mornings. So thank you in advance to Anne for putting this together. First up, we have top secret sneak peek from the Adafruit shows last week, which is a Black Lives Matter microcontroller board, which is coming to CircuitPython. It says Lady Ada is making final tests on the Adafruit Black Lives Matter board shown on Ask an Engineer and Top Secret. This board shows up as a USB flash drive when connected to a computer to hold files, pictures, and CircuitPython code. It has 4 edge-lit LEDs and 4 capacitive touchpads and the iconic symbol on the front. Common alkaline batteries power this board, and it has a lanyard ring for wearing. So there's a link to Top Secret there. Next up in our preview, RedMonk's language popularity server, also known as Yet Another Programming Survey, had Python overtake Java, and Rust also reached the top 20. For the first time since 2012, Java is not in one of the 2 top spots. So there's a link to ZDNet. Next up, and I forgot to make this bold, there's a Featherwing to Raspberry Pi adapter board available on GitHub. So check that out if you're a Raspberry Pi person but want to use a Featherwing on top. Heads up for those looking at who use regular Python, there's been a couple new releases, including 3.8.5, which included a security hotfix. So check that out. And then if you want to live on the edge, the unreleased or unstable version of Python is 3.9.0 beta 5. 3.9 is coming, so please try that out and see how things are going. Next up is thermal camera Python support. So the UTI 165 thermal camera Python example now works with Windows, thanks to whomever fixed the bug we were having in OpenCV for Python. You can now grab frames from these low-cost thermal cameras on Mac, Linux, and Windows, with a link to a guide there from the learning system. And last up, we have 3 kind of housekeeping things. First, September 9th, 9/9/2020 is the snakiest day of this year for CircuitPython Day. Much more to come on the events and happenings, to include a CircuitPython team live stream, collaboration with hardware and software folks, and highlighting all the things Python and Python on hardware. More information forthcoming, but if you'd like to participate, you have ideas of what we should do for CircuitPython Day, September 9th, please email circuitpythonday@adafruit.com. And David G asks if that is a low-cost camera, and I do not believe so. I think it's a few $100s. Adafruit update. Just a reminder, as I said before, they sponsor a lot of us. So Adafruit is shipping orders. The team has been working really hard in New York to get everything back in stock. So if that's interesting to you, please check out Adafruit. Not adafruitdaily.com, adafruit.com. Buy stuff there. They're doing a pretty good job getting everything shipped out, I think, as well. And last up, and again, a thank you to Anne for putting the newsletter together every week. You get all of the Python, CircuitPython, MicroPython news delivered directly to your inbox. You can join by going to adafruitdaily.com. And thanks to Anne for putting that together. If you'd like to help out, one way to help out is to go to check out the draft on GitHub and do a pull request to the draft, and we'll review that and get that integrated into the newsletter. So we'd love to see your projects in the newsletter and highlight those for folks. So if you have cool stuff, please let us know. And with that, that's State of CircuitPython. No, it's not. I did not get enough sleep last night. Next up is State of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. This is a chance for us to get kind of an objective view of the health of the project, Mr. certainly asks what's sleep. I'll go over the numbers overall, and then the core, and then hand it off to Kattni for libraries and Melissa for Blinka. So overall, let me take a time code. We had 19 pull requests merged from 17 different authors. Phil Schenk is a new one that I don't recognize. Nathan BNM is new. C. Walter is new, I believe, and some other folks that have been previous committers. So thank you to everybody for authoring pull requests to CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. We had 7 reviewers, and thank you to all our reviewers. Again, as always, if you'd like to help us reviewing, please let us know. We can only scale the number of authors so much given how many reviewers we have, so we'd love to have more help with that. And that's pull requests. Issues wise, we had 10 closed issues by 5 people and 18 opened by 7 people. So we're net up 8, which is a bit more than I'd like. So let's continue to be aggressive in getting those closed and organized. 18 opened by 17 people. Did I mess it up? I'm sorry. I woke up this morning to buy the to pre-order the FPGA Game Boys sort of thing, which I did manage to do, so it was worth it. Overall, we're towards the tail end of the CircuitPython 6.0 development, which is very exciting. Our library count continues to grow, despite the fact that I think we thought we were done with everything. We just keep adding new stuff, which is awesome. And I'm seeing more and more people use Blinka as well. So CircuitPython libraries is even a bigger thing than CircuitPython itself, which is awesome. And credit to both Kattni and Melissa for leading those efforts. And with that, let's talk about the core, where it all started, and then hand it off to those two. So first, on the core side, we had 14 pull requests merged from 14 different authors. Nathan B&M is a new name. C. Walter is a new name here as well. We had 4 reviewers. So again, thanks to our reviewers. And we have 13 open pull requests. Most of those are brand new. We do have a couple that are older that we should take a look at, but nothing too concerning. 13 is about where we've been for a while. Issues wise, we had 3 closed issues by 2 people and 3 opened by 3 people. So we're net 0, which is great, for a total of 315 open issues. Many of those, 281, are marked long term, which means there's something we should do eventually, but don't need to do very quickly. We have a total of 12 open issues for all of the 6x mouse feature work that we should do pretty sooner rather than later. And then we also have 7 issues not assigned a milestone, which are things that we need to take a look at and triage. Not too bad, and we'll keep on that. So let me hand it over to Kattni now for library stats.
Thanks, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
So this is across all of the CircuitPython libraries, so everything that has Adafruit CircuitPython before it in the name. We had 5 pull requests merged from 5 different authors. The oldest was 12 days, and the most recent was less than 1 day. Sort of new people, KMatch98, Phil Schenk, and 2BNDY5 are names that I don't see that often, so thank you very much. And we had 5 reviewers. And that leaves us with 41 open pull requests, so we're up a bit there. The oldest of which is 574 days, but that original author was still working on it very slowly, so we're leaving it open. We had 5 issues closed by 3 people and 13 opened by 12 people, leaving us with 183 open issues. 9 of those are labeled as good first issues. If you're interested in contributing to CircuitPython, the libraries are a great place to start, and you can check out circuitpython.org/contributing. You will find a list of open pull requests, a list of open issues, and a list of library infrastructure issues. All of those are ways that you can get started contributing to CircuitPython via the libraries. You'll also find localization there if you're interested in translating CircuitPython. Check that out because we've made it super simple with another open source project called WebLate. Um, and it has information there about translating CircuitPython as well. You can search the issues by label. Like I said, there are 9 good first issues. So if that's about your level, you can start there. And if you're looking for something more complicated, we have bugs and enhancements as well. Trying to think. We do have guides on using Git and GitHub to contribute to CircuitPython. So if you're new to that, don't let it stop you. We're also available to answer questions. So definitely, if you feel like you're overwhelmed by the actual technical side of contributing, don't let that stop you. We will happily help you learn how to do that. We had no new libraries in the last 7 days, but a number of updated libraries that I will not read off. And that's where we are with the libraries.
Awesome. Thank you, Katney. All right, next up we have Blinka update from Melissa.
Hello. So this week we had 0 pull requests merged. There are currently 3 open pull requests. There were 2 closed issues by 2 people and 2 open by 2 people, leaving a net of 25 open issues. There have been 1,503 PyPI downloads in the last week, and we are currently supporting 52 boards. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Hog Reports. Hog Reports is a chance for us to say thank you to folks for the work that they've been doing. It's a great way both to thank folks, and it's a great way for us to see what we value as a community and reinforce it. So please take the time to thank the folks that have been helping you and helping others. I will start, and then I'll go through the list of the folks in the Discord. If you are just listening in, let us know you're lurking. And if you just have notes for us, drop them in the notes doc and I'll read them off for you. And also just a heads up, if you do expect or would like to speak up, please let us know. And we need to make sure that you are in the CircuitPythonistas role. So if your name shows up as purple or you know you're a CircuitPythonista, then you should be able to unmute and do that. Otherwise, just a heads up that you need that. We had some issues last week with people just saying terrible things, so we locked it down. That's why that's the case. Okay, I will start, and then next after me will be I'll read from Brent. So I'll go first. I'm still trying to figure that out. I think Jeff said that so smoothly about who was like on deck, who was coming after the person. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Okay. First, Hug Report to Higher Effect for adding NeoPixel support to the ESP32S2. Was happy to see that come in. Thank you to RYang14 for implementing Memory I/O. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be a really neat way to provide limited access to memory directly. Thank you again to Fede2 for helping with translations and being all around very helpful. Thank you to Katney for leading this community and leading the folks that make it awesome as well, and getting new folks in. Thank you to all the mods for responding quickly to spammers and mean people. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Tech for updating TinyUSB and CircuitPython. It was something I was meaning to do, and then I saw Tech create a PR, and we merged it, and it was great. Thank you to IGRR, Ivan, for helping me through the RAM linking issue that I hit last week on the ESP32S2. And thank you to White Quark for creating NMeGen and MeGen as well, I believe, and helping me with it on IRC as well. And with that, I will circle around and read Brent off after I take a time code. Brent says, Hug Report to... Sorry, I'm getting everything set up. Hug Report to Tan Newt and Higher Effect and everyone working on the ESP32S2. I got 3 from Mouser, fast delivery time, and I'm excited to catch up and start using them. In addition to that, a group hug. And next we have Dan.
Hello.
Hello.
Find my list here. Okay. Thanks to Jeff, who a long time ago set up some actions in GitHub to build the MPY cross executables. We just failed to upload them, so I'll talk about that in status. Thanks to Jerry, who submitted a PR to update the frozen modules. I do that every once in a while, but it's nice to have other people do it. Thanks to the Guardian Wolf, who was trying to use our cookie cutter library cookie cutter on Windows and noticed that it doesn't work because there are vertical bars in the file names because of those horrendous curly braced file names. And so they have a fix, but it requires the next version of cookie cutter, which is still in development. So we'll wait for that, but that was really helpful. And thanks to all the community moderators who discussed a whole bunch of things last week about moderation, and we produced a document which we're going to discuss with Discord about what's wrong and what might be done to fix it. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. All right. Next up, we have notes from David G. and heads up Fede 2. You'll be next after that, after I read these notes. David Glaude says, Hug Report to the one reading this. This time and all the previous ones, as it's really a comfort not to have to find a quiet place and a working microphone. Nice. Hug Report to Maker Melissa for pointing me to the image processing for CircuitPython.org. Hug Report to Sedacious and Carter for tracking where the LSM 6DS33 pedometer was lost. That was needed for some Clue AdaBox example code. And a group hug, as I failed to properly better target hug reports. And Foamy Guy is on deck, but next up is Fede 2.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
So I have a couple of hug reports. The first one is for the community moderators. They were very diligent and very quick checking things out. Another one for Adafruit in general, but specifically for Anne, for organizing the CircuitPython Day. It's going to be fun. Also for Cadney for offering some help with something that we're brewing that we're going to let you know probably later. And also a group hug for everybody because, again, it's been very nice to work here with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Higher Effect is on deck, but next up is Foamy Guy.
All right. This week I got a hug report for Deshipu. Pointed me in the direction of the Git cherry pick command last week. I was asking how to test out some potential changes with Git, and that turned out to be the perfect tool that I needed. And I hadn't learned about it yet, so I definitely appreciate that. To Kinder North, a non-engineering, and Ask Patrick W, all the new CircuitPython helpers, hug report to those folks for becoming CircuitPython helpers. KMatch 98 for digging into the core code and resolving an issue with the group, display.io group insert function. To Fede 2 for the Quetzal Blinka art, the really nice art. I think Jeff posted that again in the chat just a few moments ago. To Anecdata and Katney for writing and pinning a really nice welcome message with some great links and helpful information for new users in the Help with CircuitPython channel. And then lastly, just a group hug for everybody for making this such an awesome community.
Awesome. Thanks, Foamy Guy. All right. Jeff Epler is on deck, but first we'll go to Higher Effect.
How's it going? So this week, thanks to Jerry Needle and Fede 2 CR for their testing and reviews on the ESP32 stuff that I've been putting up. Huge thanks to Joey Castillo, who created a e-paper breakout board called the Open Book that I was using a bit last week, and he was really helpful all that week. Stayed up late one night while I was kind of puzzling through some stuff, so really appreciate his work. And then to Jeff Epler and Dan for their quick fixes on main. We had some CI problems this week, and it seems like they jumped right on that. So appreciate it. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Higher Effect. All right, Jacob T is lurking. Jerry is on deck, but first we'll go to Jeff.
Hello. I first want to say thank you to V923Z for continued work on Microlab, including a lot of time spent trying to chase down the documentation problems. Higher Effect, can you mute?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Anyway, the documentation problems, which I think we almost certainly realize are an Autodoc or Sphinx bug by now, but we didn't know that up front. And thanks to Dave P. for working on Pulse-In and persevering with some snafus with Git submodules, which can be vexing. Dan H. gave some helpful reviews over the weekend. And Jerry tested some of my PRs and some other PRs that I saw go by. Thanks always for that. Thanks to Kattni for a super long help session on my recently published guide. And of course, the obligatory group hug, because all you guys are wonderful.
And Jeff, I think that issue has actually been fixed. I think that A. Wetter, the person who created Auto API, fixed it this weekend.
Great. Is that something that we pull in with an update to CircuitPython, or just Pip will give it to us?
I think when they release it, Pip will snag it. I haven't actually looked at the issue yet, but I think it's fixed. Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Kattni's on deck, but Jerry's up first.
Hello. Yeah, thanks to Adafruit for being responsive to the moderator's pleas for help, and looking forward to the resolution of all that. To Fetty2 for pointing out the DISTCC package. I haven't tried it yet, but it looks really like a nice way to help speed things up a lot when you have a bunch of pies sitting around. And Higher Effect for his ESP32S2 NeoPixel support. Only I could get it to work on my system, it'd be great. And a group hug to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. Okay. King or North will be read off after we go to Kattni.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So I have a hug and a welcome to our new CircuitPython helpers, King or North, Anon Engineer, and Ask Patrick W.
Woot.
I have another sort of sneak peek hug and welcome to our upcoming new mods, Foamy Guy and Fede2. I'm in the process of writing up a welcome to moderation document to provide to you, and that's what's holding up the promotion, but we will get to it very soon.
I feel like we need a virtual banhammer that we grace somebody with.
Right. Speaking of which, to community moderators on Discord for hanging in there while we continue to try to sort out the increase in moderation issues. To Jeff for running his first meeting last week. You did a great job. To Fede2 for powering through translating more guides, and for Quetzal Blinka and participating in CircuitPython Day. And finally, to Anecdata for putting together a getting started message for me to pin in the Help with CircuitPython channel. It includes links and just a few quick notes on how to get started, and it'll be a great place for the CircuitPython helpers and others to be able to point new folks to how to get started with CircuitPython. And that's what I've got.
Awesome. Thank you, Kattni. K-Match 98's on deck, but first I'll read off King or North's notes. King or North says, a hug report for adding me to the CircuitPython helpers role and general group hug for all. All right, Melissa's on deck. Next up is K-Match 98.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, Scott, thanks to you for feedback on where we're using up memory and display text, particularly some details on the tile grid and where memory's going. And second, Foamy Guy, for you, so thanks for encouraging me this week. A few different avenues to pursue and helping me get focused on where to go. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah. I was thinking we should just make a special case version of tile grid for just a single element. That's probably the simplest thing. But yeah, brains. All right, I'll read off Mr. Certainly after we go to Maker Melissa.
I wanted to give a hug report to Lady Ada for rewriting the PyTFT script in SD7789 driver because it was very impressive. Hug report to Foamy Guy and Fetty2 as new moderators, and group hug.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, yawn. Last up, we have notes from Mr. Certainly that I will read off here. Mr. Certainly says, hug report to community moderators for being awesome in their collaborative spirit. And please welcome our new CircuitPython and community helpers. You're the role models of what our community aspires to. Seeing folks help each other out like this is why this community was created in the first place. Well said, Mr. Certainly. Thank you very much. And with that, we're on to status updates. Status updates we do in the very similar way as a round robin, but this time we talk briefly about what we've been working on and what we plan on working on in the coming week as a way for us to stay in sync on what's going on and also give tips, tricks, or hints to other folks who are doing things that we may know something about. Just a reminder, a couple of reminders. Next up, we have In the Weeds. So if you have any In the Weeds topics, now is a great time to add them. Just pull up the note stock and add them to the bottom under that section. Besides that, also another reminder that if you're in the meeting and would like to speak up but are not part of the CircuitPythonistas role, let us know and we'll add you. We've had some issues with people spamming, so we had to lock it down. But we do want to make it available for new folks as well. And with that, let's go to, I'll read my status updates. We'll circle back and I'll read off, and then we'll go to Dan after me. Sorry, I had to scroll. Okay, for myself, I'm making progress on the native Wi-Fi API. I wrote logic for scanning and now am debugging it. Ran into issues with RAM linking, and then also ran into issues with the partition size once everything, all the Wi-Fi networky stuff was linked in. So heads up that after this gets checked in, that you will lose your file system. So be aware of that. The scanning logic now executes without crashing, which is great because it did crash before and I couldn't compile it before. So I definitely made some progress, but unfortunately it doesn't return any results. So I think there's some configuration I need to do to the Wi-Fi that I'm not doing first. So that's my top priority. And then in my spare time, I've been really interested. I've had a renewed interest in FPGA work. So I've been working on making it use Python abstractions, which is good. Which is I think more interesting. I think we can get to the point of having one Python class that is both the CircuitPython driver and all of the hardware stuff, which I think would be really neat. And then a heads up, I am taking Friday off to get outside and take a hike. So I don't know exactly what time I'll stream on Thursday, but my plan is to just bump my stream a day earlier. So just a heads up for those of you who do watch my deep dives, that's going to happen on Thursday this week, not on Friday, because I will be outside. And with that, let's go. No, thank you, Anne. I will take a hike. We'll go to Dan.
Well, again, all right. My 90% job is still working on BLEIO, the HCI protocol, implementing that as a native module in CircuitPython. So that's now, work is finally accelerating because I now kind of understand the whole picture of all the several different protocols that are used inside. And I understand the code that we're mostly stealing from Arduino BLE, converting it from C++ to C and doing a lot of other changes under the covers. So I'm now implementing, I had advertising work already and working on getting discovery to work, and in the same protocol set, I'll also get reading and writing characteristics. And when that's done, we'll be able to do stuff like Bluefruit Connect, basic UART, BLE UART kind of stuff. So I'm hoping to get that done. Things are now, I'm beginning to see the light at the end. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah. And let's see what else. As I mentioned, Jeff had built MPY cross executables. Now I added some stuff to the GitHub Actions so they get uploaded on every build. So now in the S3 place, there's an MPY cross directory with lots of MPY crosses. We still need to point to those from Learn guides and things like that, but at least they're there. Also with Jeff, over the weekend, we had some problems with overflowing builds, so we both worked together and figured out how to squeeze them in. I've had this problem for a long time where on Linux, if you do certain things in CircuitPython, it can crash the Linux box, which is sort of distressing. So if you reformat the file system, for instance, you do storage without erase file system, it would crash the Linux box. Not consistently, but often. And so it turned out if I just put a delay in, disconnect from USB and put a delay in, that seemed to fix that problem. But it will still crash in other circumstances, like just unplugging the board, and there's not a lot we can do about that. And finally, the CircUp program was using bundles 4x and 5x, and I changed it to be bundles 5x and 6x, and that's now uploaded to PyPy if you use CircUp.
Nice.
All right, and then so I'll just continue on BLE IOHCI, and also we've had an issue. Someone said that they were trying to use our BLE pulse oximeter and it wasn't working with our code. And the version that we sell is slightly different from the version I tested on. So I'm going to check that out, but I tested it already and it seems okay. So I don't know if there is indeed anything wrong. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. And did you want to talk about the thing you pinged me last night about?
No, I figured it out. Thank you. Okay.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to read off David Glaude, and then we'll go to D. Harada after that. So, David says, found that step tracker that was missing from the clue library and reported an issue, and wanted to change the unexpected maker ESP32S2 board image with a dark one, but did not find the time. Actually, I wanted all board images to be with a dark background as my new screen was set to super bright. Yeah, I feel ya. Dark mode is nice. Okay, Fede2 is on deck, but first let's go to Dylan.
So last week I finished working on the astrophotography tracker. I took it out once and I got some really good results. Second time I took it out, I had accidentally messed up the wiring, so didn't get that good results, but regardless, it still works now. I also designed a 60% mechanical keyboard that uses a Feather form factor board as the controller. This week I'm going to be finishing up the Learn guide for the astrophotography tracker and then designing an acrylic keyboard case for the keyboard and ordering and testing all that.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Dylan. Okay. On deck is Foamy Guide, but let's first go to Fede2.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be waiting for that astrophotography guide too. Sounds nice. So last week I did a translation of the CircuitPython library. I was also testing the new NeoPixel pull request for the ESP32S2. I also commissioned the creation of Quetzal Blinka, which I'm gonna post the SVG and everything later. For this week, I'm gonna finish the Circuit Playground Express product guide. I'm also telling you I would like to, if possible, to collaborate on the PSRAM thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also creating a website for CircuitPython Central American Spanish, and I have something in the weeds, but if no one has any objections, I'd like to translate the website. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, check with Bad Abby on Discord. I think they've been working on the PSRAM thing as well. And then I don't know why we would object to translating CircuitPython.org, so that would be welcome. Okay, Higher Effect is on deck, but first let's go to Foamy Guy.
All right. For last week, I found an issue in the progress bar library that came from one of the recent updates, and I got that fixed and put a PR in for it. And I also ended up creating a separate PR to update the simple test to make it a little bit more efficient and clear what was going on there. I was doing some extra stuff that didn't really need to be done. I noticed we talked last week about the Seed Weo terminal and Zhao devices, how they jumped up in the downloads list. And I got to thinking about it, I think on Tuesday or something like that of last week, and I went ahead and ordered one of each of those. And I was really shocked how fast it made it to me from the other side of the planet. It only took, I think it was at my house like 3 days after I ordered it. So, you know, big hug to those guys for shipping that stuff out so quick. And I guess to DHL for really having their game going. But those devices are pretty cool. I don't know. I didn't know too much about them before I saw them last week, but I'm really impressed by the terminal, especially. It's a really neat little all-in-one package device. Some of the other stuff I did, though, I got back to work on the JSON layout system. So that's for Display.io. I added the added progress bar to it. So now we can make progress bars from our layout files. And then I also added the sparkline shape that was recently added in the shapes library. I fixed a issue in a Clue sensor project where it was running out of memory after a recent update to the display text library. So I was able to find a way to get that to keep its background color but not run out of memory. I learned how to use the cookie cutter utility for the first time. I had never messed with that before, but I figured that out this weekend and started creating the a library for a vector-based progress bar. And then for this week, I need to fix a few of those CI issues on the vector progress bar and then look into the community bundle and maybe submit that into there. And then I'm going to do some testing on the bitmap label that K-Match and I are working on, as well. The other thing that came up this weekend was, I think Dan mentioned the Circuit update, and I was looking into that as well. And I noticed on my system, I get some strange errors that print out every time I use Circuit. And I was thinking that there might be an issue with the way the logger strings are structured in that project. And then I had convinced myself that maybe just something of my own was out of date. But there was another user on GitHub that reported they were having the same issue coming from Circuit. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more and figure out what I need to update if there is something, or try to confirm if that's actually an issue and figure out what platforms it affects, because it doesn't seem to be all that widespread necessarily. But if it is an issue, try to get that fixed. But definitely just look into it is the main plan. And that's it for me. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Foamy Guy. All right, Jeff Epler is on deck, but first we're going to go to Hierophect.
All right. So this past week, worked mostly on the NeoPixel and a bit on the Pulse in, Pulse out implementation for the ESP32S2, in between various other life things like going to the dentist, which took up more time than it should have. This week, I'm going to be continuing that work on the ESP32S2, as well as revisiting some older bugs. I've been thinking, I was originally going to revisit or really just visit F1 Flash to try and get the F1 port. We've had someone volunteer some work on porting the STM32F1 to the CircuitPython STM32 port. But unfortunately, my roadblock right now is that I can't find any good dev boards for it. It's the STM32F1 series really focuses around one board, which is the F103C8, which is just too small for CircuitPython. It's got 128 kilobytes of flash. It's just too teeny. And then above that, there's a good selection of F1 boards that are, or F1 SoCs that are above that in terms of flash and RAM that go all the way up to be comparable to the F4s. But nobody's built boards for them. So I'm not sure. I'm talking to the person who volunteered the port to see whether they would be interested in switching to maybe the F401RE, which is, from what I can tell, comparatively priced, and we already have support for it, obviously. But if there aren't any boards out there for the F1, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to spend any time on porting that. So we'll have to see what happens there, I think.
Okay.
For fun stuff, unrelated, last week I worked a little bit with the Open Book, which is a e-paper dev board for CircuitPython made by Joey Castillo. And the cool thing about that is that it has a little flash chip on there that has Unicode support built into it. So we came up with this flash image for a NOR flash chip called Babel, which has things like all of the kanji and hiragana and various alphabets for Cyrillic, Chinese, Japanese, all of these different languages. So I got to play with that a little bit. I made a functional flashcard app for studying Japanese and Chinese. And it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate Joey helping me out on that. So yeah, it was especially neat because I developed the app in Python and then moved it to CircuitPython, which was a really cool way to develop that I don't normally get to do when I'm doing embedded work. So yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Higher Effect. All right, Jerry's on deck, but first we're going to go to Jeff.
Alrighty. Well, last week I spent the bulk of my time working on a new guide covering the SPI and SDIO breakout board, as well as the new SD card functionality in the 6.0 alpha releases. I moved a number of other PRs towards mergeability. I think the STM32 implementation of SDIO still isn't actually merged, for instance. And I worked on enabling frame buffer IO displays to be coded in pure Python, with the purpose being support for the sharp memory display with display IO stuff. And my work this week really depends on how the frame buffer IO changes are received. I'm going to talk to Scott about that when his brain is a little less fried than today, I guess. And so
you just get what you pay for.
Either maybe we'll go with it, or maybe we want to change the approach to do it fully in core. I think there are a number of payoffs to doing it this way, and we can talk about that later on, or I can talk about it more on the pull request. And I think the besides that is looking at how RDUPy enables C++ code to be linked in with a version of MicroPython. And I looked at it enough to figure out that it's with CMake, and I've never liked CMake, so that made me recoil, but I'll edge back closer to it. And for fun stuff, I've been getting better at KiCad, and I made and ordered a board which kind of combines an Adafruit design for a frequency synthesizer. It adds an external reference input and a trinket right on the board so that you will be able to interact with it over serial and store your desired output frequencies. And so the boards will come in a couple weeks, and I'll get to find out if this was a useful design or not. But it was really nice, and I should have hug reported people in PCB design who, you post a picture and they post back ideas, and hopefully you can figure out which are the good ideas and the bad ideas. Anyway, that's what's up with me. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. And sorry about the noise. This is like the last thing they have to do for the house across the street. All right, next up, let's go to Jerry.
Hi. Let's see. So came across an issue with Pulsin and we're using it with the IR remote stuff on M0 boards. And Dave P has put in a PR, but right now I'm still struggling to get it to work on the M0s. Doing some odd things, but it's in work. And I tried testing out HireFX NeoPixel PR, and for some odd reason, it works for everybody but me. So I'm just feeling very left out, but I can deal with that. And we'll keep troubleshooting that. It'll be interesting to figure out what's going on. Let's see. I put in a quick PR to update the frozen libraries, and boy, that's got to be the easiest PR ever. So if anybody ever wants to do something quick to help out, it's a real simple PR to generate. And I've been doing more. I did some testing of GCC 10 and ran into a real problem that it works fine for my SAMD 21 builds, but it totally breaks my SAMD 51 boards. So I'm wondering if anybody has actually generated and tried a UF2 on a SAMD 51 board built with GCC 10. And
I think I was on a PyPortal. I think I did on a PyPortal and it was okay.
All right, I can try it by portal because it definitely failed on a Grand Central and a M4 Express. I mean, it just I can't. It just goes into, I think goes to safe mode, but it doesn't. I mean, it can't get to the rep hole, but the yellow light comes on. So I'll look
Yeah,
into
that
that
sounds
more.
like safe mode.
Yep. And then I did build GCC 10 ARM toolchain for the Raspberry Pi. So if anybody needs it, you can send me a note, a DM me your email address, and I'll give you access to my Google Drive link if you want to grab it. Or somebody wants to put it somewhere where it's more accessible, just let me know. I'll make it available. I just have a tarball of the distribution, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. Hopefully this on the recording isn't too bad, but there's literally like a vacuum truck right outside my door. So I'm trying to like at least turn it off, turn my audio off during the recording because Discord's doing a good job of filtering it out, but not.
You're not hearing it here.
You can't hear it?
Nope.
Oh, you're pretty quiet.
I think on the recording it's going to be worse though because the like Discord has that all of that audio processing that they do for background noise. So check out the recording. I don't think it's going to be nearly as clean, but it's all good. Okay, let's go to Katney.
All right. So last week, recruited some new CircuitPython helpers, following up recruiting one of two of them into community moderators. Helped Anecdata with formatting on a very well-written message full of great CircuitPython getting started links and info for me to pin in the Help with CircuitPython channel on Discord. Helped Fede2 with a guide issue. Turns out it's by design and there's no solution for now. Created 3 new fritzing objects, including the Grand Central M4, which is the most complicated one I've ever done. And of course, it was full of weird problems because why not? And updated the BME 680 guide to feature the StemmaQT version of the board. This week, update the 0.9-inch 128 by 64 OLED graphic display guide with the StemmaQT version. I'm going to be doing the fritzing diagrams for the already written AS7341 guide. Updating the M0 default files on the CircuitPython default files GitHub repo. We have a GitHub repo for files that ship on boards, and the M0 boards, the files that ship with them were updated recently, so we need to update that. I'm in the middle of finishing the ICM 2948 fritzing object, so I need to finish that and then start the guide for it. I need to link the default files for the Metro M4 Express Airlift guide and then reply to a forum post on it. And eventually we need to update the motor kit guide with using multiple I2C hardware. So multiple I2C objects. I guess it's a thing that comes up in support at least a couple times a month. So we need to do that. And I have already started communication with Justin about CircuitPython, translating CircuitPython.org, so we can move forward with that in a appropriate manner. And that's what I have.
Awesome, thank you, Katney. Okay, on deck we have KMatch98, but first I will read off King or North. Let's see. 325. Sorry for the noise for folks who can't hear it. Last week I did another live stream on my YouTube channel for my show Microcontrollers with King or North, and the topic was Trinket M0 with CircuitPython and Arduino. There's a link in the notes doc to the YouTube from King or North. They say, this week I'm working on a couple of projects for my model railroad layout for an automated turntable and a weigh scale for mine. Also this week I'm setting up a course for the local college for a fully online Arduino programming course using the Adafruit Metro X kit. CircuitPython courses are coming later. Awesome, King or North. Maker Melissa's on deck. Next up we have KMatch98.
Okay, thanks a lot. Been working on how to display text more efficiently. So I've been working with the library of display text to create an alternate to the current label. It's mostly done as of this morning, but needs some more testing, which will be the work for this week. Also, my first PR for the display I/O. Luckily, I didn't break anything, I don't think, in the process. So I hope that actually fixed the bug rather than creating 2 more in the process. So it's an achievement for me to contribute there. And then this week, like I said, testing, and then trying to think about what the next mechanical project is. My 3D printer has been quiet for about a week, so it's feeling lonely. So I got to figure out what's next for that. Thanks.
Thanks, KMatch98. All right, last but not least, we have Maker Melissa.
Hi. Last week I worked on refactoring the Matrix Portal library, and I'm getting close on that. I tested the Raspberry Pi TFT driver changes and made data. And this week I'm going to test and fix some other Pi TFT issues related to rotation and touch. And I'm going to finish up refactoring and testing the Matrix Portal library and getting that tested. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Maker Melissa. All right, that's it for status updates. Thank you, everybody. Next up, we have In the Weeds, which is a chance for us to talk about all sorts of different topics. And I'm going to try not to participate too much because I do think that this background noise is probably pretty bad in the recording. So we'll go up to Fede 2.
Thank you. It's just a small issue with the website, so I wanted to translate it. So I asked for how would anyone like to manage it. Dan, for example, says that it's okay, but he would like to have a language selector, which sounds absolutely fine. And Katni says that, yeah, she already contacted Justin to see how we could get it translated. So yeah, I just wanted to know if anyone has any, I don't know, any preferences about how would they like to manage this?
Justin's the one who's going to make that decision, because Justin's the one who will work with you on altering the code to make it do the things we want it to do. So I will message you tomorrow, and we'll loop Justin in on what your plan is, and we can all discuss how best to go about making it happen.
Absolutely. To me, it sounds perfect. Anyone else wants to?
I would just say, I just wanted to make it clear that Justin is one of the folks that Adafruit pays for web development. So he's full-time with Adafruit. So that's why we're delegating to Justin.
Okay, well, that's actually great for me, because in the weekend I was trying to understand the Jekyll thing a little bit, but yeah, if somebody else is going to do it, it's of course better for me. No problem. And
yeah,
yes,
I think
David
he should be able to get you going.
Cool, thank you. And yes, David says on the chat, don't use flags. And yes, I'm absolutely 100% on that. So yes, we're trying to use language codes.
All right, do you want to go to your second topic?
Sure, yeah, let's move on. And the second one is more like a question for everybody. And I've noticed that on the downloads page is based on how many people download the image for a certain board. And I noticed that the boards for the wheel terminal, for example, it jumped to boards that have been downloaded a lot. So I have that question. It was a big surprise to me that it was a jump so fast versus, like, for example, the Arduino boards or something like that. So my big question for everybody is that normal? Is that something normal to happen just because of the Chinese population? Another question is, should we start doing Mandarin translations for code and guides or whatever? And the other one is, what other big hardware vendors that we could extend a hand to get a similar response? Thank you.
I think the reason that it jumped, like, to give it some perspective, I think it made it in the top 8 only by getting like 100 downloads or something. I think the top board is only 250 downloads or something, so it's not thousands of downloads to get up there. And I think, you know, the reason that they're there versus like the Arduino boards is simply because they've been promoting it on their blog, right? Like they have an audience, and they also have low-cost hardware that I think people have just been interested in. I don't know whether it's actually for the Chinese downloads. I suspect not. I can get you those numbers because I literally, like, it's raw logs that I'm aggregating when I pull those numbers. I did talk with Seed about doing the Mandarin translation, but it's a pretty challenging thing because of the character set, in terms of like the terminal support. So what we need to do for languages that have lots and lots of characters is we actually need to split apart the like terminal stuff from having translations. And then we'll just have we'll have even bigger builds in the core for storing all the different Unicode characters. In terms of what other big hardware vendors there are that we should extend a hand to, I don't, I've talked with Paul from Teensy a lot. Peter from 1-Bit Squared is pretty interested. Tiny Circuits dabbled in it a little bit. But I don't know who exactly we should reach out to besides that. Arduino themselves have said that the MicroPython is coming to the Portenta, but I haven't actually seen any sort of actual release for that, so I don't know what their timeline is. Honestly, I think some people are a bit scared to jump into it because Adafruit in the maker world is kind of a big name, and they're hesitant to it's not a differentiating feature for them if they run the same software. So I think it's interesting, and I would encourage you to push folks to take a look at or to find a hardware maker you like and encourage them to support CircuitPython on it, because we definitely want to support as many boards as we can. But that's really up to those companies, not up to Adafruit folks. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, last up we have something from Jeff.
Yeah, so I've just been noticing, particularly in the Hug Reports, there are a lot of hugs to people who are engaged in parts of the community that are not CircuitPython. And I wonder at what point we would talk about having a voice meeting that was not centered around CircuitPython, but that deliberately included these other portions of the community. And I don't know what form that would take. So this is more a suggestion to start people thinking about it, I guess, than to come to a conclusion right at this moment. Whether we want a meeting for moderators and helpers, whether we want a general community meeting, whether we need a new way for the community to connect. And, it's not that there's any problem with thanking the community moderators in here in this meeting, because most of us are represented, not all of us. Anyway, just something that is on my mind. And I think if we think through it, we might find that there was space for a voice meeting that was not centered around CircuitPython and brought more people into closer contact.
Would the topic mostly be moderation, or would we be talking about other topics on the Discord, like PCB design and radios and robotics, like people have lots of other projects, that kind of stuff? Or is this mostly like a community guidelines and moderation kind of thing that you have in mind?
Well, I think it could go either way. And in a way, things show and tell are getting that community part. Am I cutting in and out, or can you hear me okay? I see my little green circle is a little dubious.
You flickered once, but you're generally
all
fine.
Right. So anyway, I first started conceiving of this as maybe for the moderation and community leader side. And then in my brain, it started morphing into, well, what makes, besides that we are special, what makes the CircuitPython special, and that we shouldn't have this around other things that are taking place on the Discord. So yeah, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. This is kind of, think about it and maybe give something a try in the future, particularly if there's somebody who wanted to drive the idea forward rather than just idly thinking of it like I do.
I would definitely be interested in anything that has to do with kind of out of CircuitPython projects. I think probably the challenge you would want to think about if it's what's the differentiation between community moderation topics, like what's kind of the driving element, because CircuitPython has a very driven element where like everybody has goals, people are reporting on what they did, if it's, I think you probably want to figure out what the structure would be, first and foremost.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, this meeting does have a structure, and so we know what we're doing, and we know when we're done. But I don't know. Is there anybody else who would enjoy showing up for, like, as an alternative or supplement to show and tell, for like more centered around the voice aspect of talking about projects that they're working on? Because I think that kind of sounds like fun, although I've already got a couple of outlets that are like that, so I'm not 100% sure I need yet another one.
I think that's the boat I'm in. Like, I have this meeting, and this meeting takes a while, and I have the other meetings and show and tell. And I do hardware happy hour as well. That's kind of my, like, project, show off my project sort of thing.
I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with, sorry, I did.
Go ahead.
Sorry. It doesn't have much to do with the community moderation. I would be down. I don't have a hardware happy hour in my area as Scott does. So, if anybody was interested in doing like a hardware talk, I would totally be down for that.
I'll also plug the fact that hardware happy hours are all virtual at this point. We do have a Discord server, so I'm happy to give you an invite for that.
That would also work. It's true.
And our Seattle one's on Thursday, so you're welcome to join that.
Yeah, we could also. I mean, we could try and cross coordinate. Some of these other related groups, I guess, as a part of this meeting. Maybe like talking about some of the other groups that can be joined, or I don't know. Probably not in the meeting, but I don't know. Somehow cross propagate and stuff like that.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me cover my subject.
Sweet. Thanks, Jeff. I think it's a good thing to think about. I think we should definitely think more broadly about this community. Okay.
And sorry.
Go ahead. I was gonna wrap up.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a final note that a lot of people have been thanking each other for PCB help recently, and I've definitely been helpful for the PCB help. So I think that is an indication that people are definitely talking about their own hardware, sometimes even selling or marketing it.
Right.
And so that might be a cool thing to explore.
Yeah, another thing is like we could consider doing like a PCB helpers role, but that's really on Kattni.
That would be cool.
Because Kattni's been doing a great job of like promoting folks to those helper roles. So I don't know whether she wants to take that on or not, or whether you want to. Higher Effect, you could do that too.
I'll think about it. Yeah.
Cool.
I'd have to know more about what it involves, but yeah, sure.
Just managing roles, I think. But
sure.
Kattni knows more about it than me, so I'll leave it up to her.
Cool. All right.
Something more. Jacob T says the show and tells are tricky for my time zone, but I'd like to join something similar on Discord at a time similar to this meeting. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Potentially we could do a show and tell in the morning. I didn't Noe and Pedro do early morning show and tells for a while. I think they may have. Kattni says they did a couple. Mr. Certainly says, I do see where you're coming from. We're getting some cross-pollination from personal projects and moderation topics, mainly because we're mostly here all the time, all at the same time. I'm okay with these things coming into the CircuitPython meeting, and it's something to think about spinning off into a community-focused event, ? I don't know what it'd look like, or if there'd be enough momentum and individual availability. Yeah, so Fede2 kind of re-emphasizes the need for another show and tell time as well. All right, I'm gonna wrap us up. Thank you everybody, and sorry for the background noise. This has been the Adafruit, or the CircuitPython Weekly for August 3rd, 2020. I'm Scott. I work for Adafruit on CircuitPython. We do this meeting every week. We'd love to have you join us. You can join the Discord server where it happens by going to adafru.it/discord. That will get you in. If you can't listen to it live, you can find it on the Adafruit YouTube channel because we record it at youtube.com/Adafruit. You can also find it on podcast services. So we take the audio out of that YouTube video and put it on podcast services if that's your jam. It happens Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So that's when you want to show up on Discord in particular, although you can chat with us all week there. And if you haven't, subscribe to the Adafruit Daily newsletter, adafruitdaily.com. Select Python for microcontrollers for all of that content. Jeff points out in the note that there is also a calendar that you could subscribe to so that you have the meeting dates show up on your calendar. We do change it from time to time when Monday is a U.S. holiday because a lot of us are in the U.S. So the meeting calendar will tell you when that is the case. And there was one other thing I was going to say and I forgot. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, if you want to get notified about the meeting and meeting changes, ask us to add you to the CircuitPythonistas role on the Discord server. Your name will change to purple and you'll be able to speak during the meeting. So just let us know if you want to join that as well. And with that, thank you all. It's been great to talk with you and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. See you later.